Hello, everybody. It's Dieter Kalt, the host of your favorite show 74 once more. Today, it's not about success. Today, it's about the dark times. It's about the times when it's raining outside. It's about the times when you don't want to get up. You don't want to get out of bed because you feel like shit. Everybody knows those feelings. Everybody has those days. But people are dealing with their stuff, their issues in a different way. And there's a lot of people who don't know how to deal with all the trauma and all the bad experience that happened to them throughout their childhood, for example. And then there's those guys who don't accept defeat, who don't indulge in self-pity, who get knocked down but get up every time, every goddamn time. And who are those guiding lights, those beacons for everybody else who's struggling with the same kind of issues? One of those guys is Tom Krojzl. He wants to use his superpower to guide, to help, and to be that guiding light because he has been there in the darkest of places. He was ready to kill himself. That's why I reached out to him and asked him for this interview, because I wanted to learn. I wanted to get into the mind of a young person who has so much talent, who has so much knowledge, and understand why people end up in those dark places. And I found it very, very courageous and brave to reach out in public and ask for help. Something that everybody who's in need should be doing, but as simple as it is, it's probably the hardest thing to do. So listen to what Tom Krojzl has to say. He started a podcast, which name is Man Base. You can find it on all the popular platforms like iTunes, Anchor, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and so on. Help me spread his message. Help him to help others. And I hope that you enjoy listening to this episode, which is for sure not entertaining, but it's helpful, it's teaching, it's delivering enormous value. Because like I said, not everything is sunny and happy all the time. We need to find a way to get out of those dark zones, the valleys, the mood swings that everybody is experiencing. And what better teacher could there be than a guy who lived through that kind of hell all his life? So welcome, Tom Krojzl. Sit back, relax, and let's do this. 3, 2, 1, go. Hi guys, this is Dieter Kalt, your host of the podcast 74 once more, with a special edition today. I'm really going out of my normal routines because something happened. A friend of mine, a colleague of mine, Tom Krojzl, he put a video on the internet last night, reaching out to his colleagues and friends and sharing some stuff that you usually don't hear on videos. He's talking about his personal path, letting down his mask, talking about his suicidal thoughts and his struggles in his life, and wants to share his story. So I thought that really touched me, that really moved me. So I took my cell phone. I was with my kids. They were going crazy in the back when I was recording a Facebook Live message and trying to reach out to Tom and saying, hey buddy, I really good to see your ugly face again. Sorry, Tom, again about that. But this is something that everybody should hear. This is huge. Something that I can totally not relate to because I have totally different thoughts and different approach in my head. So, and especially because of that, I'm interested because this is so real. It happens everywhere. It happens to a lot of people, especially young people. And you're such a bright guy, such an incredible story. Really, you should be, people might regard you as greatly successful and still you're struggling with a lot of things. And I have close friends of mine who were public figures for many years who go through the same stuff and need help and need people to talk to. So if somebody stepping up and actually not feeling ashamed about that and going public with it, I mean, that's that. If that's not worth spreading, I don't know. So that's why I'm sitting here, Tom, and I'm really appreciative of you putting your face in front of the camera and giving me the chance to talk to you. So let's just start. Where do you come from? Let the people know where you come from and what brought you to that place you're in at the moment.
Okay. Well, I'm originally, despite my accent, I'm from the Czech Republic, from a small town in southern Moravia called Kyjov, about 12,000 people. It's basically a large village, but it's a very interesting place to have grown up in because it's sort of on the crossroads. It's very close to Vienna. It's very close to Bratislava in Slovakia, and it's on the route to Prague if you're coming from the south. So all kinds of interesting people sort of conglomerate and meet up there. So I had the opportunity to have an experience of meeting extremely interesting people in a town in which usually that shouldn't be possible, because it's just too small. Normally it should be very insignificant, but I met people from all around the world just sitting in the pub in the local town, so to speak. So it was a very interesting place. I went to the local high school. Like academically, I did very well, even though I didn't try very hard, or just, frankly, I didn't try at all, because I didn't really find my, calling in life, if that's a good way to put it. I'm still struggling with that now. The podcast is the closest thing I've ever come to achieve, which sort of complements what I actually want to do. I like to help people. I went to university to study psychology because I want to help people. But even that, I finished university and I found that I was doing it in the wrong way somehow. I got this degree in psychology, but it wasn't the way I was supposed to help people. So maybe the podcast is a better way to do it, because the message is completely not about me. I just really like to see people achieve their dreams. That's my thing. That's my whole thing.
So what do you think? You obviously spend a lot of time thinking about stuff, about yourself, about life, and what do you think? Where does it come from? Where does do you have a history? Do you have a history in your family of depression? Is that that's what you're struggling with, depression, or what do you think?
There's a history of depression in my family, but I'm not quite sure that's actually what's affecting me. Like, I think it might be more like a mood disorder or something like that. Mm-hmm. Because I get hugely into things, and I'm very, very good at doing them, and then suddenly I fall off a cliff. So I'm not sure depression is the right word. Maybe my problem is something a little bit different. Either way, my podcast is about exploring that. So, I'm just a very interested person. So I'm interested in things, and I'm interested in people, and I like to explore even uncomfortable things. So that's sort of where I am at the moment.
So what happens? I explained a little bit how we met. We took this online course in London Real, Broadcast Yourself by Brian Rose. That's how we got to know each other. And you were one of the guys at the beginning of after a couple of days, you uploaded the video where it was like, I was really surprised seeing that video, because you were asking for help. If you were stuck in some weird place and you were looking for help. So I'm like, I was talking to my wife about that, like, what the hell is going on? And a lot of guys from the group, and we didn't know each other, and people from all over the world jumped to help you, or not to help you, but to support you. And and then suddenly you got momentum. You were one of the most active guys for a couple of weeks.
I was.
And you were not the only guy who was struggling with stuff. Everybody was meeting his kind of demons or his fears during that course. And that was huge for me, because I realized how strong this community feeling and this group dynamics in this kind of group were, this online course group. And that's coming from a professional group dynamics environment, but that's the sports part. So I should have known, but I was surprised what happens if you put a group of total strangers in this kind of environment. So that was really strong. And then he suddenly disappeared during the course, and then he came back, and then the course was finished. And then now suddenly you post this kind of video. I'm like, okay, there's a young man who has serious issues, and I'm really interested. What happens? I really want to understand what happens when you reach that cliff. Is there did you recognize a pattern behind it? Or tell me about the emotions that happen when you feel that way.
Best way I can put it, sometimes it's as simple as you just wake up one morning and everything's wrong. And it's a very strange thing to try and tell someone, but you just wake up and to the core of your being, you feel shit. It's not like a different kind of emotion. Like, it's not like when someone hits you and then you feel pain. That's sort of fine because you can understand where that's coming from. But to wake up and feel like you sort of wish you were dead because this is so painful, and you don't know why, that's a problem. And I don't know if that's a problem of sort of biochemistry in the brain or something. But sometimes I just get up in the morning, and sometimes I have hugely productive days where, for instance, when I'm in the zone, I'm more productive than those people will ever be. And then all of a sudden, I'm fucked and I can't do anything. So on average, I do quite well because, I do so much when I'm doing well that it sort of counterbalances not doing anything when I'm bad. So I can still sort of survive, but it's something that I'd like to get out of. It's not a habit. It's not something I chose for myself. It's just the way I am. I have to learn to live with it. So when did that start? In my teens, actually. I wasn't always this way. I wasn't always this way. But in my teens, I started to experience this, where it was just jumping off cliffs almost every day. Because I had a very, very traumatic childhood. It's just full of abuse and sadism, basically. So I understand what it's like to be in real pain.
You talk about your own family or school or what?
Yeah. I'm still very hesitant on how much detail I want to go into, but family-wise, there's a family member that really fucked me up big time. And to some extent, I think we all kind of have that person in our lives. But I was living in hell for all of my upbringing, and just being taught. So that changes you. Physically, I think that changes you somehow over a course of time. So I think that's why I got interested in psychology, because maybe I was just trying to help myself. In fact, I'm almost certain that's the case. But because I come from a really dark place, I adore moments in life where people experience joy. And I like to give people the opportunity to do that. So I think that's my whole purpose in life, is to try and have people experience something that I don't really have. I have very, very few moments of joy in my life, of just being happy. I don't know how to do it. Like, my brain doesn't know how to do it 99% of the time. So when I do get that moment, I'm extremely grateful for it. And I want more people to have more of it, because I think we're better off as a society if people just have that feeling of fulfillment, or joy, or just peace. Peace is fine.
Yeah. I get you, but if you what's your family connection now? Are you by yourself, or do you have anybody that actually is there for you to help when you need it, or did you ever reach out to people to get help?
Yeah. I'm connected to my mum quite. My mum and I have a good connection. My mum and dad broke up when I was 5 years old, so I was just living either with my mum or just living with my dad. So there was this very strange dynamic there. So I definitely have a connection, and my mum's definitely been there for me. Mm-hmm. It's a strange thing for a 26-year-old guy with a certain lifestyle to say, but thank God for my mum. She's really been there for me. So bless her.
You talking about your life? I can't believe you're only 26, and you have so.
Well, why? Sorry, I'm sorry to jump into your questions, but why can you not believe I'm just 26?
Well, you sound very mature in everything, and we had conversations before. You don't sound like the average 26-year-old. I don't even know if that's the right term. What's average? But you're a special person. That's what I mean, for sure. Well, I can feel it. I can sense that, and you know that about yourself. And well, I think it's for me, it's unbelievable. Usually, when people have things in their past that they're embarrassed about, or they feel it's like too private. There's not many people that I know that go out in public and share what you want to share. Mm-hmm. And I think that's extraordinary.
Well, that's very kind of you to say. There's a very simple reason why, and it's a very stupid reason. Ultimately, like I'm a very contrarian kind of person. I go against the current just because fuck you. That's why. And that's literally it. Like, life has been beating me down daily, massively, ever since I was a kid. And I keep getting up because fuck you, because why not? Because it's an element of, I can control something. For once in my life, I can control something. Mm-hmm. So I just keep getting up, and I keep getting beaten up, and I keep getting up, and that's all I'll ever do. And I enjoy it, and I like to, it's not just that I'm getting up, but I always knew I was different, I always knew that I had this sort of other world syndrome. I was looking at kids, and they were experiencing life in a particular way, and they were just having fun. And I was a 5-year-old thinking, oh, what's the meaning of the universe? Why are we here? That was me when I was 5, Wow. so I always knew I was different. And you have to learn to live with that, and I think that's one of the reasons why I made it this far, is because I still have something to share with other people,
Do you believe,
definitely different?
How do you see life in general? I mean, obviously you had a lot of bad experiences, and we had another guy in the group, Michael Luhman, who shares an extraordinary story as well. He was saying that he thinks all his life, all the things he went through, all the experience he had, they led up to this point. It had to be that way for him to discover his gift and to start to find the purpose in his life. Do you believe in this kind of fate?
I understand what you're saying. What I don't like is that it sounds very deterministic, and it takes out this element of free will in a way out of your life. But for what it's worth, I agree. I sort of hesitantly agree with that because, I definitely wouldn't be a podcaster now if it wasn't for my fucked up childhood, for instance, you know?
Yeah.
So it's important. Pain is an extremely important thing in your life, and you shouldn't underestimate how important it is. It's the most real thing often that you actually have, because it sort of confirms that you're really there, that something's really happening to you, you know?
Yeah.
And you should utilize that. I think it's a tool that you should use well, and you have to learn to use it. So it's one of these difficult things, because I'm not a father myself, but I was listening to the Joe Rogan podcast, and he was talking about this very interesting thing that he has 3 daughters, and he says that at the same time he wants and doesn't want them to experience pain, because having them experience pain makes you a better person. It builds your character. But at the same time, you don't want to see that happen to your kid. You know, you don't want to see your child suffer. So it's this very weird place where you come from. You have to learn to live with pain. And I wouldn't be blowing my own horn a little bit here, but my messages wouldn't be nearly as powerful if I just had a regular childhood. I probably wouldn't be doing this podcast at all. So
how could you? I mean, you're talking about stuff that you experienced yourself. That's feelings, and I totally agree. How can you talk about stuff that you don't know how it feels? And there's a lot of people out there who are selling themselves, talking about stuff that they have no clue about. A lot of things you can learn from books, for sure. Yeah. But the most things, if you don't experience them yourselves, there's a lot of theory, but life is not theory. You know, you have to know, you have to feel the pain, if it's just physical pain or if it's mental pain, because then you can relate to people. And that's how I feel, you know, in my profession, being a teacher, for example, for kids, or being a mentor for parents, or for upcoming professionals, or the stuff that I want to do in the future. Let people be part of what I've learned for 40 years. Well, I don't have the proper formal university degree to back a lot of things up, coming to, you know, being a business counselor or something like this. But you have life experience. I know exactly how it feels. I can relate, and that's your special gift as well. It's just I feel, you know, I don't know what I feel about you, because I would like to say, okay, fuck, Tom, I feel bad about, you know, I will feel bad for you. What are you gonna do? But it's also important. There's a guy like you sitting there and talking about this stuff, because I know this is going to be really inspirational, especially in the future when you find a way to deal with your stuff yourself, and you can really relate to people that feel the same way. Yeah. So, how far along in that? Because you said when you were reaching out, you said the last couple of weeks were really bad for you. Mm-hmm. Was there anything special that happening that brought you to that place, and how did you get out of it again? What are the next steps?
Yeah, very good question. I quit my job, even though I quit. I was the fastest grower within an international school, or one of the fastest growers professionally that there ever was. So I came from literally shit shoveling and cleaning the toilets in the summer to running my own boarding house in under 3 years, like 2.5 years. So it was, I'm used to working very, very hard, all day, every day. And I think that discipline, it's strange for me to talk about discipline because in many ways my life is not disciplined at all. But I used to be a tennis player, and it used to be all I did. And I used to spend hours and hours and hours on the wall after training every day, just playing, just getting better. It's all I really know how to do. Is I need to constantly be pushing. So I lived on the tennis courts, and then for medical reasons, like I screwed up my shoulder so many times I can barely move it. So my rotator cuff is screwed, so I couldn't serve anymore, and that means I couldn't play anymore. So I needed to find a different outlet, and I'm still not sure I found it completely, but I'm definitely on the right path, because you never get it right the first time in life, but the only thing you can keep doing is sort of pushing in the right direction, or whatever you think the right direction is. It's the only honorable thing to do, I think, in life, is to just keep going in what you think is the right direction and creating stuff along the way,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So what happened when you fall into this dark place? What's going through your head?
You just want to die. There's so much pain, and you spiral. You see that there's this chain of thoughts that happens to you, where you spiral out of control. Where basically your brain, it's not like you want to, but your brain focuses on all the worst elements of your life and all the mistakes and all the missed opportunities, etc. And it spirals. That's all there is.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all you feel, and it's just agonizing pain, and it's physical pain actually as well. It's like needles shooting out of your skin in every single little fiber of your body. It's a huge agonizing physical pain on top of a psychological pain, and it's debilitating. It cripples you. It's like it's the equivalent of like a huge guy standing on top of you and just not letting you get up. Like it's not like, oh, you just walk it off. No, you can't walk it off. It just cripples you. It debilitates you to the core of your being.
So
while it lasts,
but so far you managed to overcome those situations. So it just passes with time, or what do you do? How do you get out of it?
What I do is that it's going to sound a bit cheesy, a bit silly, but I never give up. That's the one thing I'm very good at. I just we mentioned this before, as a sort of fuck you to the universe. I just refuse to stop. So I keep getting up, and it's so painful sometimes that it's unreal. There's no way I can convey. People will be listening to this, and there are people that will understand this because they've experienced it themselves. There is a certain pain in life that you experience, which just, you've had it yourself in one way or another. And I'm not sure I can even attribute it to me. Like maybe it's just part of my genetics. Like I can't stop. I just can't stop, and I won't stop until I die. That's the only time I'll stop.
Well, greatest success in history of the world was obtained because people just wouldn't stop. So there's a lot of power in that, Tom. So that's one of the greatest talents of all, for sure. So what's your next steps now? So about your situation. You have had more experiences than were good for you, and now you're sharing it. What are the next steps? How do you want to spread your message? Who do you want to reach?
The connection was a bit wobbly there, but I think I got the gist of your message. What's my next steps?
Yes.
I think basically is just keep doing what I'm already doing. I'd like to monetize my podcast. Right now it's free. And frankly, I'd do it for the rest of my life for free because it has value for me personally, But it's also important to make money in life so that you can keep doing stuff. So I'd kind of like to monetize my podcast as well, if possible, in the not too distant future. There's definitely a couple of books in me. I have interesting ideas, I think, all the time. And I'd like to write a few books. I am actually writing as we speak. But I haven't really found my voice yet. And I'm exploring my voice on the podcast. I think that's a good way of putting it.
Okay, you were saying that you're not so good helping yourself. Because I was listening to the latest episode you just uploaded a couple of days ago, I think, or even yesterday.
Yeah.
Was it yesterday?
Yesterday, yeah.
Yesterday. Yes. So I was listening to it a little bit, and you were saying, you know what, guys, I'm not good. I'm not really good helping myself out of this situation, out of the hole I'm in sometimes. But I have a talent of helping others. How is that? Is that something you? How do you know you have this kind of talent?
I think it just keeps. I just have a lot of evidence to prove it. I think that's the best way of putting it. Like, it is also a very strong feeling within myself. Like, it's a very basic, fundamental feeling that not just that I'm different, and I am different. Like, even on a biological level, I'm a bit of an Asperger. I am actually on the autistic spectrum.
Yeah.
So I look at life in a different way to the way most people look at it, and I have this very strange relationship with being empathetic to other people, so feeling how other people feel. I don't understand most social situations, although I'm an extremely good mimic, so I can look like I'm there, but I don't understand. I almost never understand. But I do have an ability to see when people are in pain, and I hate to see people in that way, because I think it's just such a huge waste of potential, of talent. And maybe it's my friend, and it often was my friends who were just in a fucking dark place. And I'm bad at lifting myself up, but I'm fucking brilliant at doing it to other people. Mm-hmm. So, I do that for other people because, well, why the hell not? What else am I going to do?
Yeah.
I see them, and I can sort of help them along the way. And it sounds extremely arrogant to put it this way. It's not like I'm some all-powerful God, Jesus. I'm powerless, but I have an ability to point people in the right direction. I think that's the right way to put it.
So, what's your best case scenario? Looking forward, how you want to reach? Besides the podcast, how would you like to reach other people in your situation and to help them?
Size of my podcast. Well, Dieter, I'm a dreamer. I want a podcast bigger than Joe Rogan's podcast.
That's awesome.
And I genuinely, that's what I want. I want millions of people listening, and not because I like the sound of my own voice. I want millions of people to listen because I want people to get better. We're in a very strange place as a society today, and people are extremely polarized, and there's this, how should I put it? We sort of live in a post-fact world. There's so much information coming out on the internet every second that it's difficult to verify what is and isn't real. In fact, it's almost impossible. So people believe any kind of bullshit, Yeah. Or most people do. So there are people in the world that have this very sort of good bullshit ometer. I just want to bring people back to earth and to get to a place where they can stand with their feet firmly on the ground and move forward, because as I say, it's the only thing I'm really good at is pointing people in the right direction. So I'd like to keep doing that. And obviously I need to be heard in order to be impactful.
So, and I think, and I'm sure you will. Yeah, you got lots to say. But if you look at your personal life, what do you think would make you happy, other than seeing other people happy? What about your own happiness, like really from the inside?
I think once I'm ready, in many ways, I'm actually quite a conservative person, although I'm very open to new experiences. So I'd like a wife and 2 kids, roughly speaking, 1 kid would be enough, someone to bring up, and just have like a normal life, because I've never had that, and it would be something. It's something to look forward to me. I've never had what looks like normal to me, where you just have a bunch of kids and you send them to school, and it's a big, I'm not living in a dream world. I understand things aren't that simple, but I'd like something that is normal, that people do.
Just a normal life.
Yeah.
But I think you are taking those steps are huge. And if you look at people like me, for example, I was reaching, like you reached me with that message. What can I do to help you, for example?
Well, first of all, I just can't thank you enough for reaching out. And I don't mean this in just this pathetic sort of, oh, thank you so much. I'm extremely grateful for you to, like you compared to me, like you're a big guy. You have outreach. People listen to you. You've done stuff in your life already, and you've been very, very good at it. Just spread my message. That's the only thing, if you can just share the link and point people towards my podcast, I promise to put out more episodes and shake things up, make things interesting. I think a lot of what I have to say is kind of controversial, but I don't like controversy for the sake of controversy. I just, I think I speak the truth a lot of the time, and it's painful for people to hear. So iTunes actually didn't want me. I'm still in a battle trying to get on their platform because apparently the phrase "man base" isn't good enough as a title. I guess it's too chauvinistic or something. I don't know. So they're trying to find excuses to not get me on. But you can definitely find me on Spotify and other platforms. So if you can spread my message, if you can share the link, then that's a massive thing that you can do. And I truly am, Dieter. I'm honored that of all the people in the world, you chose to reach out to me yesterday, and here we are sitting down. You've got a million things to do, and you're talking to me, and I really appreciate that.
Well, we're all the same everywhere. I'm 20 years older than you. I have some more experience in some things. I have my family already. I have 4 kids, but I'm struggling with a lot of things myself, just like everybody else. And it's nice to have somebody to talk to at times, or just to somebody who listens. And there's so much, and I agree. There's so much bullshit out there, so much waste of time. And I totally changed my life in the last 12 months as well. A lot of social connections that are not there anymore. Not because I'm pissed off or angry or disappointed, just because I realized if I want to transform, if I want to develop myself into a certain direction, I have to choose wisely who I spend my time with, and what kind of thoughts I let into my head, and who inspires me and who takes away energy That's huge. What's my priorities in life? What kind of dad do I want to be? What kind of life do I want to live? And all those kind of questions in the society I grew up in are not really allowed. Are you supposed to live this way? This is the way it's always been. You do this, and you do this, you do this. And I was fortunate to live a little unconventional life, being a professional athlete. That's not very common. And I really enjoyed that, growing up with this kind of passion. And there's no question for me that everything I do in the future of my life and what I want to teach my kids, it has to be with the same kind of passion that I had in the last 20, 30 years. And if that means stepping totally out of my comfort zone or uncomfort zone and trying something totally new, then let's be it. If it means doing something completely different than everybody else, well, then that's what I have to do. And I admire people stepping out of the ways and talking the truth and not sugarcoating anything and politically correct in everything they do. Because I have been that way for many, many years. And
you tried to be that person.
Well, you find yourself, if you look yourself in the mirror, you see many things. And it's hard to admit the stuff that you don't want to see. But I think it starts changing something. It starts with the look in the mirror and acknowledging the stuff that you are bad at, and then opening up and reaching out to people that can help. And it could be anybody. You can learn from everybody and anybody. So by you saying, thank you so much for, even talking to me, and everybody is the same genius or the same idiot. You know what I mean? Everybody is just the same. It's all about human relations, and that's what's going to make the difference at the end. So
there's a rare thing. There's a rare combination of things, I think, with you, which is that you have this innate ability that most people don't have, that you go towards the thing that hurts, I think all people that really achieve stuff in life, they go towards the thing that hurts. Most people just go, oh, fuck it, that hurts, I'll go away. You go towards it. That's why you got where most people never got. I have that in my own particular little way as well. And I think more people can utilize that skill. It's some people are just like genetically, I think, better disposed to do this by default, such as you, for instance. You just have that ability. Like, your mindset is already by default correct in many ways. You're set up well to do stuff.
It's interesting.
I'm not trying to oversell it, but I think, do you understand what I'm trying to say?
Yeah. No, I it's interesting you say that, because I've been talking to a lot of people about that, because that's really the way I look at things, because of experience. And I've experienced a lot of failure myself. If you talk about dreams and reaching dreams and being successful and reaching all the goals and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
For me, it's, I've been reaching a lot of my goals, and I haven't been reaching a lot of my goals. But that's not really important, because it was the steps towards those goals that were the important learning processes. And all the failures actually pointed me in different directions. One of the biggest learnings was that you're really trying to reach your goal, and you're going through that wall, and for some reason it doesn't work, and you're pushing and and you get taught that, you just push. You just have to keep going. Well, sometimes that's just not enough. There's reasons sometimes that things don't work out. And what happens if you let go? You say, okay, if you accept it, not giving up by any means, but just stepping aside, letting things pass, being fine with it. Yeah. Okay, I choose a different path. What I found out was that the new direction was better than the one before, and what I was reaching behind that mountain, just taking a walk around it instead of going right through it, was even better than what I was hoping for. So at the end, I was reaching different goals on a different path, and I was so content with everything. And what you said before about experiencing fear or facing the fear, I think that's really key. And you're a young guy already recognizing that. If I only look at it from a sports perspective, let's say you're in competition, you're in a hockey game, and there's a lot of intimidation going on. There's strong guys, there's big guys. They're trying to not hurt you, but they want to overpower you. So you're gonna get hurt. And there's
they want to take you out. Yeah,
exactly. And there's a big difference between guys that go in a battle all in, not being afraid to lose that battle, because they think they might get hurt, or guys that live more in their brain. They make a conscious decision. This guy is strong, or this is bigger. I might get hurt. So the smarter thing is to slow down and to take a different angle, and kind of shying away from that confrontation. What usually happens is the guy with the bigger heart, who is all in, first of all, he wins the battle. And second of all, if you go in and even if you get overpowered...
I'm really sorry, but the connection's really swinging up. Okay. Oh yeah, I can hear you again. Sorry.
No problem. I said it again. Usually when you go in, when you're facing your fear of getting hurt, doing something that you never done before, that chances are you might lose or you might experience some pain, what usually happens is you find out, well, that was painful, but it was not as bad as I thought. So why the hell was I afraid of it in the first place? And once you experience that you face your fear and you do something you're really afraid of, and you look yourself in the mirror and say, okay, you know what? That was not that bad after all. With this kind of feeling, you can approach pretty much everything in your life, every fear that you're facing.
Yeah.
Obviously, you have to be smart about it. You think about your stuff. Obviously, you prepare yourself. But then when you face it, you find out it's not that bad after all. And there's so many people who never dare to take that step because they're afraid of the consequences. And I choose not to be that guy. I wanna be the captain of my own ship, you know. You understand what I mean? And it helped me a great deal. Yeah.
Absolutely. That's a very noble thing to do, I think. As I say, you obviously went and developed an inherent sort of ability you have, and I like to bring people towards that ability, you know, to their talent. I think that's a good way of putting it. That's what I really like to do.
Hello?
You know, and in a way, I envy you, because I was, in my mind, I was going to be Roger Federer. I was going to be that guy, because I didn't have the talent, but I really didn't have the talent. I was such a shit tennis player in the first few years, but I tried so hard. I became the best because I just fucking worked harder than everyone else.
Yeah.
And I was going to be Roger. And then my shoulder just messed up, and I couldn't do it. And I'm sort of envious, because a part of me, I really wanted to be that professional athlete. You know, I wanted to be that guy, because it's all I knew. You know, tennis is like a chess game, but it's also a very repetitive activity. You just fucking hit the ball better than the other guy, and you do that all day, every day. And it's something I knew, it's something I understood, and it's something I enjoyed. And that's all I wanted to do for a long time. Then I couldn't. So, you know, you have to redirect, you have to accept, and you have to redirect your strengths. But it's interesting to talk to someone that, you know, went through the motions and got to the professional level of of athlete. Because you know, you did something that I was aiming at, and I then couldn't do for physical reasons. But well, you know, it's nice to talk to someone. I think you can always tell very quickly when you speak to someone who sort of speaks your language. I can understand your mindset, I think, you know.
Yeah, and I can also understand yours, because that's something I'm really I was always curious about, and it was like close to my heart because of family reasons as well. Well, the path to professional sports, for example, it's not for everyone. There's so many influences and so many things that go into it. So there's only a few people who actually make it to the end, but it's not the only thing in the world. So you have for every different sport, you have to have certain skills. You have the certain kind of luck, the work ethic, certain talents, certain genetically predisposed abilities. And there's a lot of kids that are wishing and hoping, and they're going after the role models, and they have those kind of dreams. And 98% or 99% of them are going to end up not making it. So it's really important how we prepare, and that's something that I was thinking about a lot. How can you prepare people for this kind of what is seen as failure, which is really not, which is just a kind of development and a development of life, really. And I had this kind of example in my own family. I have a little brother. Little is, he's a big guy. I'm just a little guy, but he's a big guy. But he wanted to step into my shoes, and I was stepping into my dad's shoes in sports, and he wanted to step. So he had this burden of the name and all, a really smart guy, but a really sensitive guy. Like I could see he was not really made for this kind of sport. He was really physically, he got injured quite a bit, and so when he got injured, and he screwed up his shoulder a few times as well. So that was the reason he had to quit. But that was all he was dreaming about all the time. So there was a clear goal was missing. What's the next step? And we were worried in the family. Okay, what's going to happen? He's such a smart guy, but all he was talking about all the time was this sport. And I knew I was in that business for many years, and I knew about the bad things about it as well. I'm like, okay, there's many good things about it, but there's also a few bad things about it. But then he found his true talent in medicine for some reason. And that was, I feel so good for him and so happy for him that he found this kind of stuff where he could dive in and be really good at, where nobody else in the family ever had a talent for it or an obvious talent for it. But he was lucky enough to find this talent, because there is a talent in everybody.
Yeah.
So the question is, are you lucky enough, or do you get help to find your true talents, your true calling? Because then it can be, anybody can be awesome in anything. I really believe that. I
actually agree, and it's a strange thing, because I'm also a realist. Like, there has to be a certain amount of stuff that's already good enough in you so that you can take it somewhere. But I think the vast majority of people have enough of that stuff to really take themselves to amazing places, And sometimes intelligence is a burden. It gets in your way. I was listening to a podcast with Dan Pena, and he was talking about how someone who's, as he says, basically who was retarded, made a couple of $100 million because he stopped thinking. He wasn't thinking. He just did the thing. And while you're spending the time thinking about, but what if I screw up? And like the retard isn't thinking about that because he can't. And so he just makes money. And I think that's true. I think, was very politically incorrect or whatever. But what I'm trying to say is, just because you have a lot of thoughts to think doesn't immediately make you a good person. Sometimes you just need to get out of your own way. And I say this from a place of great experience of my own. Like, you can overthink things to death. What you need to do is take action. You need to go do things. Don't just sit in the armchair. You're not, Descartes. You're not a philosopher. Most people aren't philosophers. So.
And that's where it comes back to Pena, in his quote, "Just fucking do it." You snowflake.
Exactly. Yeah, I like how he takes a Nike quote and makes it better.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So, I mean, Tom, it will be really interesting to watch your next steps, to watch your progression, because I think you're on a great path. First of all, the courage that you had to reach out, the courage that you have to spread your message. I think you will be an inspiration to so many people, even a lot more people than you might think at the moment, because there is, everybody likes to show the pretty face. Everybody wants to, nobody. Yeah. You know, exactly. Everybody has his skeletons in the closet, or his backpack to bear, but nobody wants to talk about it. So if you ask somebody, hey, how you doing? What kind of answer are you expecting?
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't even want to hear. It's the truth. And if there's somebody out there who actually says what he feels and is spreading that, might be controversial, but who cares? Yeah. It's going to help a lot of people, Tom. I will help you any way I can. I really appreciate talking to you. And also in the future, when you have your first huge mastermind and your podcast is going to blow up on number 1 on Spotify if iTunes doesn't take you. And in the future, we laugh about it, a lot of things, but I really admire your courage and your strength.
See, I don't know what to do with compliments like that. I'm just very grateful, Dieter. Thank you so much for having me on. It really has been an honor for me, and it's really nice to be able to say that and really mean it, because as an aspiring professional athlete speaking to a real professional athlete, I really feel where you're coming from, and I really appreciate you taking the time, because there are so many other things you could have been doing. And for some reason, you've helped me more than you know right now by this last hour or so. So thank you.
Well, thank you too. I hope it helps. And that was the most important thing to do for me in the last 24 hours. That's for sure, Tom. So never think small. Never think small about yourself again. Hey, there's people that care for you and care about your story. All right. So good luck, my friend. And we talk again.
I really appreciate you taking that viewpoint.
All right, Tom.
What can I say?
Take care. Thank you guys for listening to this episode. I hope you like the content. And if that is the case, go to iTunes and hit subscribe. Leave a review or just rate the show and help me spread the message. Go to Anchor, go to Spotify, and like, and share the episodes with your friends. Help me grow the audience. Let's do this together. Stay tuned, my friends, and take care.